When my name vanished from the project, I didn't argue. I simply remembered who had done it. My name is Alex Thompson, and back then, I was just a junior data analyst at Vertex Analytics, a mid-sized firm in Chicago's bustling tech district. I wasn't the type to chase the spotlight. I preferred the quiet hum of servers and the glow of spreadsheets late into the night. Data wasn't just numbers to me. It was alive, whispering stories of patterns, risks, and opportunities. I'd always been that way, even as a kid in suburban Ohio, where I'd spend hours poring over baseball stats or weather charts, trying to predict the unpredictable. The project that changed everything started innocently enough. Our CEO, Mr. Hargrove, had tasked the team with developing a new risk forecasting model for client investments. In the volatile world of finance, where one bad call could sink millions, accuracy was everything. I volunteered immediately. At 28, I was hungry to prove myself, not for promotions or praise, but because I loved the puzzle. For months, I dove in head first. I'd arrive at the office before dawn, my desk cluttered with coffee cups and notebooks scribbled with algorithms. I refined the model using machine learning techniques, neural networks to spot anomalies, regression models to predict downturns. It wasn't glamorous work. It was grinding through datasets, debugging code at 2 a.m., and testing iterations until the predictions hit 95% accuracy. I sacrificed weekends, skipped dinners with friends, and even put a budding relationship on hold. But when the model finally clicked, it felt like magic. It could forecast market risks with precision that our competitors could only dream of. As the presentation day approached, I polished my slides, rehearsing in front of my bathroom mirror. This was my baby, my contribution to the company. I imagined the nods of approval, perhaps a quiet, "Well done, Alex," from the higher-ups. Little did I know, the real risk wasn't in the data, it was in the people around me. The email came late that evening, just as I was packing up. It was from my manager, Derek Lawson, a slick, ambitious type in his mid-40s who always wore ties that matched his ego. "Alex, great work on the model. To give it more weight with the execs, I'll handle the presentation tomorrow. You've done the heavy lifting, now let me sell it." I stared at the screen, a knot forming in my stomach. Disappointed? Sure, but I trusted the team. "Okay," I replied, hitting send before doubt could creep in. The next morning, the conference room buzzed with energy. Suits filled the seats, Hargrove at the head, flanked by department leads. I sat in the back, notebook in hand, ready to jump in if needed. Derek took the podium, clicking through slides that looked familiar. Too familiar. My heart skipped as I scanned the credits slide. Project leads, Derek Lawson and Sarah Klein. Sarah was a colleague, friendly enough, but she'd barely touched the project, maybe reviewed a few reports at most. My name? Gone. Erased as if I'd never existed. Derek launched into the pitch, his voice confident. "We've poured countless sleepless nights into this. The algorithms are revolutionary. My team and I refined them to perfection." Sarah nodded along, smiling like she'd coded every line. The room erupted in applause. Hargrove beamed. "Outstanding work, Derek. This could be a game changer." I felt the blood drain from my face, my hands clenched under the table. I wanted to stand, to shout, "That was my work, my nights, my code." But the words stuck in my throat. Arguing now would make me look petty, unprofessional. Instead, I sat there, the applause ringing in my ears like mockery. Derek caught my eye briefly, then looked away. Sarah's smile faltered for a second, but she recovered. After the meeting, colleagues patted Derek on the back. I slipped out, my chest tight. Back at my desk, I replayed it all. How had this happened? Had they always planned it? The betrayal stung deeper than I expected, not just the theft of credit, but the erasure of my effort. I wasn't naive. Office politics existed. But this was outright plagiarism. That afternoon, I didn't confront them. What good would it do? Derek would deny it, Sarah would play innocent, and I'd be labeled the troublemaker. No, I needed to think bigger. I opened a new document and typed my resignation letter. Due to personal reasons, I am resigning effective 2 weeks from today. Simple, no drama. I printed it, signed it, and left it on Derek's desk. The news spread quickly. Colleagues whispered, "Alex is leaving? But why?" Derek pulled me into his office, feigning concern. "Is everything okay? We value you here." His eyes avoided mine. "I'm sure," I said evenly. Sarah stopped by my desk later, her voice sugary. "We'll miss you. That project was fun, wasn't it?" I just nodded. No accusations, no scenes. I packed my things methodically, notebooks, external drives with my personal code backups, and walked out on my last day with a polite wave. Leaving Vertex felt like shedding a skin. The betrayal lingered, a quiet ache, but it fueled something new, resolve. I remembered Derek's evasive gaze, Sarah's smug grin, Hargrove's oblivious praise. I filed them away in my mind, not for revenge, but as a reminder. In the world of data, patterns repeat unless you break the cycle. I was ready to build my own. The first months after leaving were brutal. I moved into a tiny apartment in a quieter part of Chicago, scraping by on savings. No safety net, no references from Vertex. I'd burned that bridge quietly. But I had my skills. I freelanced at first. Small gigs analyzing sales data for local businesses, building simple dashboards. It paid the bills, barely, but each project rebuilt my confidence. One night, staring at my laptop, I had an epiphany. Why work for others when I could create my own path? I registered Insight Analytics LLC with the state, a one-person operation focused on risk forecasting and data consulting. My office was my kitchen table, my marketing, a LinkedIn profile, and word of mouth. The early days tested me. Cold calls rejected, proposals ignored. I doubted myself often. Was leaving a mistake? But then, a small client, a startup in fintech, hired me. I delivered a model that saved them from a bad investment. They referred others. Slowly, the tide turned. I poured everything into it, learning business basics, networking at industry meetups, even taking online courses in entrepreneurship. Friends helped. My old college buddy Mia designed my website. My brother loaned me startup cash. Setbacks came. A client who didn't pay, a model that failed due to bad data. But I adapted. Each failure was a data point, teaching me resilience. 2 years in, Insight Analytics started to hum. I hired my first employee, a sharp grad student named Jordan, who shared my passion for data ethics. We landed bigger clients, a mid-tier bank needing fraud detection, a retailer optimizing inventory. My models weren't just accurate, they were intuitive, telling stories that executives could act on. I never badmouthed Vertex. Instead, I focused on integrity, always crediting team contributions, fostering a culture of trust. It paid off. Industry awards trickled in. Rising star in data analytics from a trade magazine. My name spread. At conferences, people approached. "Alex Thompson, your work on predictive modeling is inspiring." The betrayal faded, replaced by pride in what I'd built alone. Life balanced out too. I rekindled hobbies, running along Lake Michigan, reading nonfiction. I dated casually, but work was my anchor. The quiet satisfaction of owning my success was sweeter than any stolen credit. 5 years after leaving Vertex, I woke to a crisp Chicago morning and checked the business news over coffee. There it was. Vertex Analytics teeters on brink of bankruptcy amid investment blunders. My pulse quickened. The article detailed a string of failed ventures, high-risk investments gone sour due to flawed risk assessments. Ironically, it was the same domain where my old model had shown. Without me, they'd apparently let it stagnate, or worse, misunderstood it. I leaned back, a mix of emotions swirling. Not glee, that wasn't me, but a sense of validation. Patterns repeat, I thought. They'd built on shaky foundations, crediting the wrong people. The phone rang that afternoon. Unknown number. I answered professionally. Insight Analytics, Alex speaking. Alex, it's Derek Lawson from Vertex. His voice was strained, a far cry from the confident pitchman. How have you been? Fine, I said neutrally. He rambled about old times, then got to the point. Vertex was in dire straits. Bad forecasts had led to massive losses. We need your expertise, Alex. You're the best at this. Could you consult? Help us rebuild the model? I listened, noting the desperation. He invoked team spirit, past collaborations. Memories flooded back, the erased name, the applause for lies. But I stayed calm. After a pause, I replied, I'm sorry to hear about the troubles, Derek, but our schedule is booked solid through next year. Best of luck. I ended the call, no malice, just boundaries. Why not help? I could have, but saving them meant endorsing the past. Instead, I chose self-preservation. It wasn't revenge, it was growth. In the years since, Insight thrived. We expanded to New York, hired more talent, even mentored young analysts. I spoke at events, sharing lessons on ethics and data. Credit where it's due builds empires. The betrayal? A catalyst. It taught me value isn't in applause, but in integrity. Today, as I watch the sunset over the lake, I feel peace. Success isn't about settling scores. It's about rising above. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of quiet triumphs.